The return of Sargeras, the sword, was only the beginning. We know that the sword is going to be relevant once again. Blizzard's been jokingly hinting at it. It was part of the cinematic for the entire launch of the War Within and the World Soul Saga and everything else. It looks like we're finally understanding why the sword is going to be important. Let's see what Doran has to say.
So many don't actually know this, but Blizzard has officially confirmed that Sargeras and Illidan are going to return in 13.0, which is going to be the last Titan. This makes complete sense as the...
What was it? Is he talking about the interview with Chris Metson where he said, you are not prepared? When did they officially confirm that 13.0 is the return of Sargeras?
Out of the saga is
we'll see what Doran has to say.
Yet nothing is happening with the sword right now. Recent hints showed us that Sargeras isn't really all that different from the Titans. It's unlikely he really went crazy, but what is his return going to look like? Is he going to come back for the sword as an independent entity? And could he be our only way to actually defeat the warlords? Or are the Titans going to finally realize that he was right all along? There is no other way to fight the void with anything else other than extremes, and now they might accept him back as he becomes the last Titan.
Ooh.
While we're talking about Sargeras, I decided to ask him a few questions myself. What is going on with him? If he could give us his own first-hand perspective on the entire Titan ordeal. Now, the coolest thing with Polyboss here is that I just gave Sargeras, typed in the entire lore of his character with his image, tweaked a few settings, and you got your own personal Sargeras to talk with voice and everything. There are already a bunch of characters, but you can even create your own WoW character, type in the lore, and talk with your own character as well. All you gotta do is use my code Dorons, check at Polyboss, and unlock some really amazing features.
Nice.
One of the interesting things to consider is, despite the fact that Xal'atath is really the harbinger of this World Soul Saga, the one that is opening the entire thing and is the leading figure by all accounts, Sargeras is actually the main guy of this entire storyline. I've said this a few times in the past, but based on a recent interview, we learned that Chris Metson, that created the
Sargeras kind of kicked off all the events, right? He stabbed the planet. We already know that the Halifal crystal didn't start transforming between void and light until after Sargeras' penetration, right? His deep pen basically led to the War Within. He is right. It kicked off the entire expansion. Now, why did he do it? What was his reasoning behind it? Freeing the world soul? Who knows? We're going to find all that out. But yes, he is kind of right that he was the one who kicked off this expansion.
Sword of Sargeras in the first place, and that Legion ending, he didn't like where WoW was going next, which was the true reason why
he didn't like Shadowlands. Good on, sorry. He tried to save us from Shadowlands. Too bad that Blizzard abandoned that entire storyline and decided to go the way they did. But Chrissy Boy's back, and he's going to fix that.
And the reason was he didn't like the way WoW was going in BFA and Shadowlands. It's almost certain that he had at least a portion of the World Soul Saga planned out even 10 years ago back in Legion, and now they're building on top of that plan. We know Blizzard started working on the saga a few years before Chris returned, so that explains why things are a bit disjointed, because Khazad-dûr very likely wasn't in Chris Metson's vision. We know they tested underground stuff with Xenolite Caverns back in Dragonfight, so that is why the saga starts with the Sword of Sargeras and Silithus with that opening cinematic, and that is the focal point, but now we're in a completely different zone.
What he said is true. Chris Metson came in, and it's already been confirmed. He didn't create this entire, Khaz-Algar, all that shit. He kind of morphed it into fitting with his storytelling. Even the end of Dragonflight, if you see how it kind of hit like a limp dick noodle, that got kind of morphed by Chris Metson. That's where his influence started. Now, the story that's happening in Khaz-Algar and everything, that's pretty Chrissy. And then it continues on. Midnight is his first full, he created that expansion from the ground up and everything else, and then obviously The Last Titan too. So if you would like the story so far, if you think it's been going in the right direction, get ready, because that's about to hit full speed when we hit Midnight.
However, it actually isn't that disjointed if you pay attention to the little details. So this is chapter 1 of the saga, and the finale is going to be about the grand conspiracy, the light versus void battle, and really the last Titan, where a big thing is happening, and that is the return of Illidan and Sargeras. If you haven't been following the news, this has actually legit been confirmed. There is a whole video on the official WoW channel where Chris Metson talks about the saga.
It's so interesting. I wonder what Illidan and Sargeras have been talking about this whole time, because based just kind of on how they imprisoned him and everything else, they can talk, they can chat it up. I wonder what the hell they've been talking about and what Illidan's perspective on everything is going to be when he comes back and Sargeras comes back, and Sargeras basically has revealed all the universe's secrets to him. What the hell is going to be his perspective from then on out?
Process, and he hints that Illidan is returning, but that is going to be a 13th thing, which means it is going to be Last Titan content. Following this logic, as Illidan is the jailer of Sargeras obviously, this subsequently confirms that Sargeras is going to come back. Actual return of the Titans has been confirmed as well, even back in Dragonflight with Iridikron, which is really the entire premise of the expansion. So think about it, there is no way the entire Titan Pantheon is going to come to Northrend in person, and there is no way Illidan, the jailer of Sargeras, is going to return to Azeroth, but Sargeras is just going to sit this one out in some cosmological prison all alone and
probably not.
Now, Sargeras is coming back, but the real question is in what way, what is he doing now, and how is this going to work out? So when you think about it, this actually makes complete sense. It's pretty evident that Sargeras had some sort of a plan at the end of Legion when he stabbed Azeroth. We know this because we learned that the Beldar...
And by the way, I don't think his plan was to destroy the planet. I think if he wanted to do that, he could have hit it and been done with it. He was pinpointing something. He was clearly aiming at something, and that's been confirmed by Blizzard. But even just watching the cinematic, it looks like he's aiming at something. So what that is, why the reason was he hit what he hit, we're going to find out.
Started turning into the Void, which is the cause of all the recent events, and we also learned that the old god blood deposits in the crust of Azeroth shifted as well, infecting many areas that we knew nothing about. The Void Hermit, the Twilight Hermit guy in Silithus, also vaguely hinted at this, that Sargeras didn't just randomly decide, let's stab Silithus.
Hit the chamber of the heart. Let's see, he's about to say that.
At the time, we all thought this was really his last resort. While he was being imprisoned, he just randomly lashed out. But think about it, if his goal was really to destroy Azeroth with a single swing of the sword, he almost certainly would have slashed it instead of stabbing.
Right.
We know at least one planet that Sargeras slashed and completely destroyed with one single swing, and this was back while he was still a Titan, so he was much weaker than he was at the end of Legion. So certainly Sargeras' goal wasn't to destroy the planet, because he almost certainly knew how potent our planet was and how crucial it is for something we don't know yet, and that something big is going to go down in a few years, essentially ensuring his escape. I've got two scenarios right now that seem very likely based on all the recent evidence we got, and I'll lay it out what we know, and then you can kind of think for yourself. The first idea is based on the Hermit from Silithus that got new dialogue options in Dragonflight, and that is that Sargeras never...
If you don't know who he is, the Hermit from Silithus is an orc in Silithus, and if you walk up to him with the transmog of a Titan weapon, I think, and there's a transmog of Sargeras' sword. Depending on which weapon you walk up to him with, he gives you different lines based on the Titans and the old gods and everything else, so he seemingly knows a lot of stuff. And some of the lore he's revealed is telling about what's going to happen in the future. He talks about Sargeras and the return and all that shit, so we'll see.
Really betray the Titans, they just had a disagreement.
Finish every sentence
instead.
with "we'll see."
Let's just look at the actual quotes that he says so that I'm
here's
not
what he
making
says.
this up. Why did he strike this place? He was far too masterful a tactician to choose this target by chance. This is what I just previously said. Almost certainly Sargeras didn't randomly lash out. He picked Silithus out of all the zones, very likely because either the Titan prison mechanism here or because Khatun was there. And
I don't think it was the Chamber of the Heart. I think you could still go to the Chamber of the Heart. It's not damaged in any way by the sword. He was aiming maybe at the prison that's imprisoning Azeroth, or like he's saying here, maybe
this is what pushed the old god blood, which wreaked havoc all over Azeroth a few years later. The second quote is even more interesting, and it is in regards to the Titans themselves. The Titans care only about their precious order. They would sacrifice anything to achieve it, including their own followers. Even the Dark Titan had a pattern to his actions, a cold logic intended to impose his perfect vision, and the willingness to eradicate existence if he could not achieve his ends. Do you think the rest of his kind are any different? Only in method, not in goal. Guys, keep in mind, all of this is actually brand new dialogue from 2023 in Silithus, so it was all added when they were already working on The Last Titan. It is obviously foreshadowing for the World Soul Saga. I just want to say that this quote strongly hints that the Dark Titan Sargeras isn't really so different. The entire Titan narrative that we have learned from the Chronicle is that this guy had gone crazy, he lost his mind and just started destroying everything in sight, while the Titans were obviously, peace-loving, amazing people, building building
Yeah.
civilizations and creating everything, it's obviously BS. It's been pretty obvious that the Titans are enslaving
I mean, the Titans wrote their own lore, so of course they made themselves seem like badasses.
planets, forcing people to do their bidding and brainwashing them to believe that they are the good guys. You can see that all over the place with the Earthen. Sargeras isn't really any different, but the real disagreement came in when they realized that the Void is a big problem. Sargeras faced them head on.
What's
Unlike
up,
the rest
bro?
of the Titans,
Daryl.
he fought the Void, he was nearly driven crazy by it, and he personally destroyed an old god-infested planet, so he had hands-on experience on what it would mean when the Void takes over a planet. I think he came
did.
to the realization.
I mean, this entire expansion basically has been about shitting on the Titans. If you notice, like, the War Within is all about shitting on the Titans, the Earthen realizing the Titans are pieces of shit. They've been completely killing the Thragar, which the Earthen themselves believed were like these denizens and stuff like that. So they completely, turned out to be jerks, right? And now going into Midnight, we're going to learn, I think, more of the follies of the Void, right? Why the Void is bad. So we're getting kind of the side of the Titans are bad. We're getting the side that the Void is bad. We're going to side with the Light, I think, in Midnight to fight off the Void. And then we're going to realize the Light is bad too. Everything bad. All right? All because we're going to get more lore into the, what's it called? The Light Emperor and how he's this over, crazy person, this zealot with the Light and how he's using the Light in a bad way. We're essentially learning that everything is bad, if it's gone to an extreme, right? And balance is the truth, and that's why I think Azeroth is the balance of all things. That's where the lore is going.
That the Void is so insidious that they have to be eradicated and they got to start everything from scratch. Titans didn't believe this. They thought their prisons and brainwashing will work. Now, look at the
Void
Lord.
pirates and down for the Void. Yeah, I mean, if Zalateth is bad, then I don't want to be good. Let's just say that.
It did actually work until it stopped working. I mean, objectively, look at all the facts. Titans took serious control over Azeroth and Iron Grip. They installed all these machines, facilities, mechanisms, failsafes. This all worked great for thousands of years until it just started breaking and breaking. The Void started to slowly leak, attack from this, that angle, and what we're witnessing right now is the final destruction of this fragile mechanism. Sargeras almost certainly knew it would end this way, so he pushed the sword to finish the job. So now the Titans will realize he was right all along. So the theory is that Sargeras is going to be redeemed, but not for us, but for the Titans. They might realize that his way is now the way to go, and he might be the last Titan. Obviously, what they were doing no longer works. They're super desperate, seeing that they're going to come to North.
I don't know if his siblings are going to agree with him, or we're going to be against them, and he's going to take our side against them. I don't know. I don't think they're ever going to agree. Personally, I think Aman'Thul's the worst of the Titans. He's worse than Sargeras. He is the complete corruptor on that side, right? He's a piece of shit. We know that he's had dealings in the Shadowlands. He deals with time and all that. He is the one willing to destroy things. He's ripped world trees out. He's hyper aggressive, irrational. He's ripped old gods out of the planet and left the planet damaged. He's a piece of shit. So we're going to deal with Aman'Thul at some point, and I don't think it's going to be him and Sargeras teaming up.
Northern in person, so why not pick the ultimate weapon they have in store, their own champion Sargeras? If this is the case, I think Sargeras is going to be cleansed of the Fel. He may return close to his original form, and when the Titans come marching in with Sargeras, that will be the final confirmation that, yeah, these guys are definitely not the good guys. However, I have previously covered this theory. There is another one that is a little bit different from this one, but it is nonetheless as plausible. It seems very likely that we are going to lose in Midnight, that this would be the first expansion where we lose or something really bad happens. Keep in mind, the way the World Soul Saga is created is that it is really one giant mega expansion, and these expansions are the chapters. There is a reason the Titans will have to come in person. Keep in mind.
By the way, they literally said they took inspiration from Marvel and the Infinity Saga. I mean, what happens in the Infinity Saga? Yeah, Thanos snaps and they lose before they come back and have their victory. So we're getting our Thanos snapped expansion in Midnight.
And this is as big of an event as when they first conquered Azeroth, and we are going to witness it this time. For them to come themselves, it means something really, really bad is going on. It seems likely that the Void conversion of Azeroth would start at the end of the War Within, and it would really start ramping up in Midnight, where Azeroth may actually be done.
Yeah, we are.
Because of that, the Titans would lose their project that hold over the World Soul Prison, which is almost certainly mainly under Northrend, and they got this break glass in the case of emergency guide. Remember, Sargeras battled old gods the Void back when he was a Titan, then he created the Burning Legion. He literally had a giant demonic army that was battling the Void non-stop. I know we faced off these guys all the time, but the primary goal of the Burning Legion was to fight the Void. In fact, this is one of the main reasons why we never really encountered the Void in that big of a number so far, because they were constantly fighting either the Burning Legion or the Light. I don't think
probably true. I mean, we probably strengthened the Void by killing off the Legion, right? By killing off Sargeras. That was probably the best thing that ever happened to the Void, and that's why maybe the Void kind of, you know, started to make its strengthening or re-strengthening comeback after we dealt with the Burning Legion. So that's true. We'd helped them.
I think the Titans are powerful enough to stop them, and here Sargeras steps in. It is almost the same as the first scenario, but maybe they don't forgive him and say he's right. He may break free because the Titans are leaving the prison unattended. Sargeras may actually be the one that is going to have to fight the empowered Azeroth or the Void Lords, which might actually be the finale of the saga. Think about it. We defeat the Titans, Sargeras defeats the Void, and there is a potential scenario where after that he escapes, and now we got a future Sargeras to deal with again. This would give a lot of room for Blizzard to have new stories following the World Soul Saga, because they did say they plan to continue on WoW for a really long time. The World Soul Saga is not the ending. So, just
like I said, I mean, we're teaming up with the Light, all that shit's gonna happen. I think this whole Light Emperor play, other side of Azeroth, a giant continent that we've never discovered before, I think that's what they're kind of setting up for post-World Soul Saga. After we've defeated the Void, we're going to have to deal with the Light, right? Because then we basically defeated the enemy, the only thing that was counterbalancing the Light. So I do think that's what they're setting up kind of to be the post-World Soul Saga, which will be dealing with the Light instead of the Void. Other side of Azeroth, massive continent, basically a WoW 2.0 where they've created an entirely new continent with the new engine and everything else and upgrades and all that shit and player housing. And everything will be ready to go.
The saga started with the sword. Sargeras knew what he was doing. This was his long-term plan to break free, either to literally break free as an independent entity or to convince the Titans to free him so that he can return back to the Pantheon. Whether he's actually going to be fell being following his years of imprisonment, it is really hard to tell. He may not be reforming the Legion, but if he does end up escaping, remember that this is literally a being, the power of a god, with hundreds or thousands of years of experience, a being that destroyed planets, and he may...
A little point here. What if he does reform the Legion? What if in order to defeat the Void, we need to team up with everything? I mean, like a full-on, a team up with every force that we've ever dealt with. Like, you got the Legion, right? You got Sargeras reforming the Legion. You got the power of the Fel, right? And then at the same time, if you don't know this lore, the Lich King... And part of Arthas's goal as the Lich King was to create an entire planet unified in undeath, right? Where he can command every being on the planet to fight off the threat. The threat of what? The Void, probably. So imagine we got the Legion, right? We got all the demons teamed up. We got literally Undeath and the Scourge teamed up. And we got all the living beings teamed up as well. It's like this trifecta of team up that we've got, Avengers Assemble moment where we're fighting off the Void. Would be kind of cool. I wouldn't hate that idea. I think it would be kind of a mishmash of all the lore that's kind of led up to this point. We'll see if they actually pull it off, though.
May just learn from his mistakes on what to do next.
Also, I hate to relate to this, but the jailer said, "A cosmos divided cannot stop what is to come." Just saying, maybe divided meant, we got to get together with all these past enemies we fought to defeat this current enemy.
Thanks for watching. Check out what will happen
the
with
jailer
the
knew.
by clicking on the screen, and also
the
subscribe to my
villain.
new raid channel by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.
Yeah, not a bad video. Saying that Blizzard confirmed this shit. I guess they did in an interview. Chris Metson did say you are not prepared for what is to come. He was hinting at the return of Sargeras and Illidan and everything else. I think that's just about confirming that. What happens, where the story goes, and how they come back, and why they come back, that is all still a mystery that we'll be finding out, possibly soon. Nice video from Doran.